Well, I wanted to try something new here on the program. Each month, we want to sit down with farmers across the country and talk to them about issues that are on their mind, catch up on how things are going with planting and the growing season, and so much more. And kicking things off for this experiment, I'll call it. I just wanted to bring some different voices into the program. Well, I got two guys on who I've been familiar with for a while, one of which we grew up in the same hometown and went to the same high school, and they have just started the Farmer Sense podcast. Happy to have them join us here for our Farmer Roundtable this month. Rick Willert, Andrew Focht, thank you guys for being with us here on the program and joining us for the roundtable. How are you guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing real good. I'm wondering if you guys gotten wrapped up with spring planting. I know, Rick, you're in northern Iowa. Andrew, you're in southern Iowa. Let's start there. Are you guys worn out from planting season yet? Are you done? Talk about what you guys have been dealing with the last couple of weeks.
Want me to go first?
Andrew? Yeah, go ahead, Rick. Yeah.
I just finished planting corn Sunday. So, yeah, what was that, 3 days ago? I planted all my beans first, had a good go of them. Of course, they were well on their way and up before I got the corn planted. But I like to plant corn in good conditions and warm conditions. So that's why I save my corn planting towards the last, part of the year. But I didn't expect it to get this late. So I'm happy with the way it looks. And the stuff I planted May 30th. So what, 5 days ago, that's already up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So even despite I know there's been a lot of rain, northern Iowa, especially, things working out so far, Rick?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it rained. We had anywhere from 1.5 inches to an inch just on the road. We live a 2-mile road there, Jesse, but so a mile apart, there was about a, 1/2 inch difference. And looking out today, it looks like you could go out and plant because we have so much soil saturation in the top 6 inches. It's all running away now. So anything we get comes down so fast and so hard, it just runs down the sprayer tracks, down into the waterways and into the ditch. So I'm glad I do a lot of strip till and no till, so I don't have all that soil running away, but still don't like to see the water run away because anytime now, Iowa can just shut off, and it looks like it might shut off for a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's be interesting to see how this weather pattern goes here moving forward. Since we've had so much rain, will we flip it hot and dry for a while or not? Andrew, how about your neck of the woods? How's planting progressed for you this spring?
Planting has been a struggle. Let's put it that way. It's just been drug out way more than normal. The guys that planted really early on that April 10th, April 13th, when it was nice and dry, but it was going to get cold, their crop looks phenomenal. I mean, even on those bottoms that are wet and with all the rainfall that we've had, close to record rainfall in May here, it was up tall enough that it survived through. The guys that waited till that cold spell was over and then planted into warmer conditions, the 22nd through about the 25th was the window there. That corn just looks really rough. There's a lot of stand loss. I mean, I know I had quite a bit of stand loss in there. I think it was just from the rain and getting soil into that whirl, and we just lost the amount of stand that was there. I'd say anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000 plants. So that window looks really, really rough. And then we got another one about the, 15th of May, I think is what it was, and about another 3-day window in there. That stuff looks really good. So it kind of all depended on plant timing now. I would love to get back in and plant some for the second time, tear it up, but it just was about ready to go yesterday afternoon, and then we got about 2 inches of rain, so that ended that pretty quick.
Well, thinking about this, and I know I've heard some chatter, there could be some replant across the Corn Belt, Iowa in particular, where you guys are both located. Man, oh man, I mean, what have been some of the major agronomic challenges you guys have had the last few weeks, or what are some major challenges you could foresee in front of you here over the next couple of weeks as we get into the beginning part of growing season? I mean, talk about Rick. How about your side? What are some agronomic things you're concerned about right now?
Well, right now, nitrogen seems to be a big issue. I know it's kind of a big topic, and I've talked to a lot of people about it. I've heard good things and bad comments back, but a lot of it has to do with placement. And Andrew and I are both strip tillers, so whether you use anhydrous or you apply, apply anhydrous in your strip or apply 32 in the spring in your strip, whatever you do, it was all about placement this year. There's a lot of streaking out in the field. You can even see the guys that applied the anhydrous, straight back and forth with their field, but then when they planted, they might have been off. They weren't quite on that same line. So half of the field is nice and green, and the back end of the field is all yellow because they just got off that strip of anhydrous. So I've been seeing a lot of that, and that's my biggest issue, I guess, is just getting this corn plant started off right. I mean, it's so important up to that nodal root stage. And the soybeans, I mean, they're tough. That's why I planted them earlier. They seem to look really good. I tried something different this year. I planted them all 2.5 inches deep, and thank God they all came up. Otherwise, my dad would have killed me. But I don't think he knew I was planting them 2.5 inches deep either. But anyway, so I guess I don't see a lot of replanting going on in my area, but I see guys planting in, if that makes any sense. Going out with little planters, planting in here and there.
Okay. Andrew, how about you? Some of the same challenges, different ones in Southern Iowa?
I'd say it's similar. A lot of guys are, the nitrogen, the streaking, I think is everywhere this year with the amount of rainfall we had. The one thing in our area, a lot of guys will come in and start top dressing that corn about V5, V6. So the guys that planted early, their corn is up really well. And so they're starting to do that stuff here in the last week. Well, they got the nice rain. Well, now the guys that planted in that second window, like myself in the third window, our corn isn't ready for that yet. And now it looks like it's going to turn off dry for the next 10 days. So we're going to hit that timing maybe a little bit wrong to get that nitrogen into the soil with some rain. So that's some of the things that I'm thinking about right now. But I mean, there's cornfields around me that haven't been planted for the first time yet. I assume they're still going to corn. It just gets tough here, first part of June, whether you actually replant or you just live with what you got. So it'll be interesting to see what people kind of decide to do.
Well, with your guys' podcast, the Farmer Sense podcast, folks can listen to that wherever they download their podcast audio, or you guys are on YouTube as well. You guys have been having some awesome conversations with folks on a wide range of topics. What has been maybe your favorite conversation in the last month or so that you could talk about and highlight for us a little bit? Rick, if you want to start there.
I actually like when just Andrew and I talk and kind of,
Okay.
shoot the crap a little and go through what we've been seeing. We started Farmer Sense. I thought of it like 6 months ago or probably a year ago. And about 6 months ago, I said something to Andrew about doing it with me. And Farmer Sense was always kind of a word I'd use instead of common sense, Farmer Sense, kind of. And so we thought, hey, let's show people all the dumb stuff we do and all the screw ups we have. And let's try to educate people not to do that, get in front of it, show people new and upcoming things that are coming in the industry. We're both strip tillers. He doesn't plant beans. I do. I no-till my beans, but just kind of try to get in front of agriculture and talk about new and upcoming things and show that, farming's not perfect. It never is, I was still planting. I mean, I dug mud out of my planter how many times the last few days. Everybody makes mistakes, and we're just here to show people that, hey, the more mistakes you make, sometimes the more things you learn.
Definitely. How about you, Andrew? Your thoughts there?
Well, I talk to Rick every day or every other day, so I'd say I'd like to talk to somebody new once in a while. So we've had some amazing guests, to be honest with you. There was one in the last month. We talked to a gentleman about green lightning, which is taking nitrogen from the atmosphere and putting it into water from a little machine, and how we can do it so simply. Just just plug it in and plug a hydrant into it, and it's an air compressor, and it takes nitrogen out of the air and makes a plasma on the water and goes into the water, and you just have water with 2 pounds of nitrogen per gallon of water. So kind of, I don't know, what I think would be there in 10 years, it's already here, and it's interesting to kind of see how they're starting up there.
Joining us for our June Farmer Roundtable, we have the hosts of the Farmer Sense podcast, Rick Willert, Andrew Focht, both from Iowa. I want to turn our attention to some other topics and issues, and I'd like both of your thoughts here. You know, there's a lot of talk right now about the Farm Bill, of course, and there's a lot of talk about sustainable aviation fuel, some of these big hot button items throughout the industry. So what are maybe some things that you are both interested in, concerned about, happy to see, etc., whether it be Farm Bill somewhat being moved forward or things with the sustainable aviation fuel? I mean, let's talk about some issues here a little bit. What's top of mind for you right now as we get into the summer months, Rick?
The sustained aviation fuel. That would be so huge. We need to keep America's soybeans here, and I mean, we need to keep growing them, for one. North or South America is just kicking our butts all the time, and we just need more uses in the US of our soybeans and corn, whatever, ethanol. I mean, look at what the markets did 25 years ago when the ethanol industry started. I mean, people say, oh yeah, you got an extra 25 cents. Well, we probably did. We probably got even upwards of $1 or more some years because of ethanol, you know, and we need to have that same thing going with soybeans. You know, I mean, I grow soybeans because I tend to be a one-man operation most of the time, and soybeans are, you know, they help me in the fall. So I'm 50-50. So I get the soybeans done in, you know, a little quicker time, less hauling, whatever, and then move on to corn. But I don't want to ever have to quit growing soybeans just because South America is growing them all now. That's what scares me.
Well, and I know too, we obviously got that 40B tax credit guidance here a few months ago that a lot of folks were, it's kind of like glass half full, half empty, so to speak. Like there was some good, but a lot of farmers I'd kind of heard from were, you know, felt like they were immediately disqualified if they weren't doing certain practices. Did you guys feel that way when that news came out?
Yeah, I would think so. I think so anyway on my end. I mean, I do the carbon tax, the carbon credits now through a program, and it just felt like that was an extension of the credits, or, you know, so that was one thing that I didn't like. I was really looking forward to the 40. I still am looking to the 45Z. I think that could be really huge for the corn farmer here in the United States. So I think until the rules are set, I know they've changed the Greek model, and so that's made some adjustments on what the actual scores will be. So I'm just ready for the rules, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people out there are excited about it, but until we get the rules, it's all up in the air, in my opinion. It all can change overnight.
Yeah. Rick, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it looks like the only good way of doing it or getting involved was doing all no-till. And I don't know how that is sustainable with some soil types in some areas of the US, you know, especially when you get to northern parts, when soil stays cold longer, and a lot of guys like to work their soil to help warm it up. But yeah, I mean, nothing's real great. Like Andrew said, nothing's really set in stone yet. I mean, I almost feel like I can't even comment because I don't even know for sure what is going on. One time you hear one thing, and one time you hear the next. So,
well, and something else too that I think maybe we could talk about with this is, I know the record keeping and data collection that could potentially be needed. I know, for instance, Senator Grassley has said on a couple of occasions that he doesn't think there's going to be a good way to track it. Say, if, you know, you guys take a load to the elevator or the crush plant or the ethanol plant, you know, who's to say that came from a field that did all the sustainable practices? So I think there's a lot of gaps that got to be filled there, right?
I think you're exactly right. That's what I worry about, documentation and who gets audited. That's my question. Is it the ethanol plant that gets audited? Is it they have to prove the documentation that you provide? Are you having to provide it to them when you deliver it? I mean, I think the guys that commingle grain and stuff like that, it's going to be tough. You know, if I'm going to dry corn in one bin and then haul it to the ethanol plant, I got to keep it separate, and every field's going to have its own CI score, the way I understand it. And you're not going to know that till you combine the whole field and have an average yield.
Yeah, and it's easy for someone like me who takes everything to the co-op. You know, I'm within 3 miles. I got 3 co-ops right around me, and yeah, I harvest a field. I take it. This is the name of the field. Switch to the next field. So that's easy. But then I heard on Joe Vaklovic here the other morning that, what was it? China were they buying soybeans that were not grown where where there was no forest removed in South America? Was there something like that? It's like, how can you prove that those soybeans came from land that, you know, that forestry was removed from? It's like, come on, there's no way that it's so hard to keep track of any of this stuff. I don't know how they'll do it.
I just think we could all agree to a point earlier, this could be a very huge market for U.S. farmers, kind of equivalent to the original ethanol boom. But we just got to figure some things out and make sure that this is not clear as mud, so to speak. Right.
And that's where it is right now. That's why it's so hard for me to even comment on it.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about getting stuck in the mud, I'm sure I can comment on that. Sorry.
I want to ask you guys too, because we talk a lot about the farm bill right now in ag media, for instance, and there's a lot of the debate, the partisanship between the Republican side and what they want and the Democrat side and what they want. And traditionally, farm bills are known to be very bipartisan. Is there anything with this farm bill debate that is a major issue for you? Is it crop insurance, protecting the farm safety net? Is it something else related to like the climate smart ag stuff we were kind of talking about with SAF? Is there anything with the farm bill right now that you are watching closely at all?
I guess I would say I would stick with on the crop insurance side. I think that's, for me, I mean, that's part of my marketing tool. So that is my safety net, as well as, you know, I want to know how I have a guarantee out there of how many bushels that I can sell and be somewhat protected. And I have a fixed cost tied to that going into the season. So that just helps me market a little bit better, I think. At least I tell myself that. But that's a huge thing for my operation personally. Conservation's huge. Being former NRCS person and my wife first for NRCS, those conservation farm programs have been really huge in our area. That's how we're getting people to adopt cover crops, maybe doing some strip till, stuff like that. So I think anytime we can keep promoting that, it's going to be good.
Rick, how about you?
Yeah, same on the crop insurance side, definitely, because it is a marketing tool. And then also with CRP and different programs like that, you know, there's waterways and stuff that we have in our area that can be put into CRP, you know, and there's big chunks of some farms that, you know, you could have 5-6 acres out of a 40-acre field that is a waterway, you know, and you'd like to be able to farm it, but if you can't and you want to keep that soil in your field, it's nice to get something for it. So I know that's really important right now too with a lot of farmers. And yeah, and like Andrew said with crop insurance, I mean that's such a huge marketing tool, and it's almost like placing, you know, a put option, you know, on your grain prices. So
yeah, very true. As we kind of wrap up here, I guess I'll throw this one out to you guys too. In terms of just the overall ag economy, there's been this talk of, you know, the rising cost of inputs, of course, and commodity prices kind of in a downturn. We got inflation, still a huge issue. For you guys, next 6 months, I mean, what are going to be some of the biggest things you're watching in terms of just your bottom line on your operation, if you can comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, so my thing is using everything to its fullest. And that's why I got on a tangent on TikTok here a couple of days ago just about fertilizer placement. I mean, if you're going to spend the money, put it where you need it, no matter what it is. So there's so many things there, you can tissue sample. I know some people say, you go out and tissue sample, you're already a week too late. Well, you might be, but if you keep track of these tissue samples throughout many, many years, you can build a roadmap of, when you need products at certain times for foliar application or Y drop. So my biggest thing is just using everything at its utmost potential, and not overapplying nitrogen. The biological market is huge right now. I mean, try some different products of that. I'm not going to go down that one, but it almost makes me wonder if I am. So it almost makes me wonder if some of these companies are just trying, and they're just coming out with something and they're just trying to tell us we're using too much nitrogen. That's what scares me sometimes, like, hey, try our product. It'll give you another 40 units of nitrogen. Well, maybe we don't need as much as what we think. So there's just so many things, so many trials, so many different things we can do to make ourselves more sustainable and more economical to our bottom line.
Andrew, how about you?
Well, I think as we move into June here, I have stuff on my calendar that remind me to sell a little bit of corn, because historically this is kind of our time of year to take advantage of some markets for this fall. And it's just one of those reminders, no matter how good or bad things look, you get that backyarditis. You got to look at the big picture, look at exports, overall scores for every state. The other thing I would say is, like Rick said, the tissue samples and what my crop looks like as we go through the season, and to not spend money on just an okay corn crop, on stuff that you can't push, know when to stop and say, you know what, it's just corn. And that's where I'm at right now. So,
guys, this has been fun. I appreciate you humoring me to join us for a Farmer Roundtable. Give us a plug for the Farmer Sense podcast real quick. How many times a week you guys post new episodes, things like that? Where can we get more information?
Yeah, so we usually post every Friday night at 10 o'clock. We missed 1 week. It was kind of a struggle. I mean, we're farmers. We gotta get that done first and foremost. And but yeah, we're on Spotify, all that stuff, and then we're on YouTube if you want to watch us. So
awesome. Well, we'll put links in the descriptions for our podcast and on YouTube and on our social media and website as well, so folks can check out your Farmer Sense podcast. And really appreciate the time, guys. Rick Willert, Andrew Focht, the hosts of the Farmer Sense podcast, joining us for our June Farmer Roundtable. Thanks, guys, and we'll do it again soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.